You are watching No Filter with Debbie. These are my views and opinions. Welcome to No Filter with Debbie. I'm Debbie Schlussel. And you know what's driving me crazy? The Derek Chauvin trial. Yes, regarding the George Floyd killing. Today was the closing arguments. The prosecution gave its closing arguments, which were much shorter than the defense. The defense went on for a very long time. Then the prosecution got to give its rebuttal. And this is one of the things I always hate because I feel like if you're the defense attorney, as I am in many of these cases, many cases that I do, you don't get the rebuttal. You just get your say, and then the prosecutor gets to rebut what you say and say whatever they want. It's supposed to be focused on what you've said, but they stray beyond that, as happened today, and you don't get to respond. That's it for you. And then the jury deliberates. So now this is in the jurors' hands. And now they're finally going to be sequestered. They should have been sequestered all along, but this judge does not care. The judge in this case has been unfair from the get go. And I think that his rush to have this trial less than a year after this all took place, which is highly unusual. Usually trials are delayed and delayed for quite some time. What is the rush? Why was this rushed? And not only that, but why was this rushed? And why didn't, as I've said before, the prosecution give immunity to George Floyd's drug dealer, Maurice Hall? They did not do that. And you know what? You're not allowed to raise that point in the arguments. So the jurors do not know this. The jurors do not know, unless they're lawyers, that Maurice Hall was not given immunity. I think that's a very important point, but the jurors don't get to hear that. If Eric Nelson, the defense attorney, had raised that issue, the judge would be very angry. He would declare a mistrial and he would issue sanctions against Chauvin's team, which is his team, is just him. It's Chauvin and his lawyer, Eric Nelson. Whereas, as I've pointed out on previous shows, Floyd's team, let's face it, they are Floyd's team. They're not representing me or you. They are the prosecution. They're not representing all of the people in Minneapolis, Stan, or all of the people in Minnesota. They're representing certain people. Because in most cases, this case would be a slam dunk. This were not all over the news. If this were not so political, this would be a slam dunk in Chauvin's favor. Because they cannot prove that Derek Chauvin's knee on the neck was the cause of George Floyd's death. They just simply cannot. And that is what Eric Nelson drove home today. And as a result, the prosecution called what he was saying in his closing arguments fairy tales. And there were objections. And they said he shaded the truth. And there were objections to that. You can't say things like that. You can't cast aspersions on the attorneys either. And that went on from the prosecution directed at Eric Nelson throughout the closing arguments. And they objected repeatedly to Eric Nelson's closing arguments, which is rarely done. Rarely done. And in fact, they said that he couldn't characterize testimony a certain way when in fact the testimony was that way. Now, it is true that the prosecution had something like 12 witnesses. 12 witnesses to refute their medical examiner. Why? Because their medical examiner, Mr. Baker, didn't say that asphyxiation was the cause of death. In fact, he couldn't determine that. He said police subdual was a contributing factor, but only after this case became a national story and it became political. The main document in the case, which I think maybe Eric Nelson should have hammered home a little bit more than he did, is the coroner's report, the medical examiner's report. And in his report, which he did before this case became national headline and a cause for the destruction of America that continues to happen, in that report. In that document, it said that George Floyd had 3 2/3 times a lethal amount of fentanyl in his system, an overdose. And that was just fentanyl. He also had difentanyl, and he had meth, and he had pot, and he had COVID, and he had a bad heart, and he had what's known as a heavy heart, and he had heart disease. He had many things going on, and he had multiple overdoses before this happened. We heard towards the beginning of the case from his girlfriend, and she testified that she went with him to the hospital on more than one occasion when he overdosed, and he took the same pills that he took at this time. Now, that is why George Floyd's drug dealer, Maurice Hall, was an important witness who did not get to testify. He was there in the car, in the vehicle, in the SUV with George Floyd and his girlfriend. And there was a woman there that was apparently the drug dealer's girlfriend who helped him deal drugs. And Maurice Hall did not testify. We showed you the video the other day where Maurice Hall said that he thought it would incriminate him. And we showed you the tweet about his attorney saying that he would have to stand trial for murder because he is the one that sold these pills to George Floyd. George Floyd taking those pills was the cause of what happened here. You cannot rule it out. And in fact, none of the medical experts knew exactly what killed George Floyd. That is something that Eric Nelson did hammer home today. Another thing that he really emphasized was the fact that police officers make decisions based on the totality of circumstances, and that all of these witnesses only saw a snapshot in time. Yes, it wasn't a single snapshot, but it was a few minutes. As he pointed out, this was not merely the 9 minutes and 29 seconds. In fact, it was more than 17 minutes, the whole set of events that took place, and these people were not there. And they were not videotaping it. They were a crowd that began together. And the police officer has to respond to the totality of circumstances. He also pointed out that this mob made things unruly and that the officer felt he could not get off of George Floyd because of that. He also hammered home something that we may talk about a little later in the show if we have time, and that is that we don't know that George Floyd's knee was on, that Derek Chauvin's knee was on George Floyd's neck the entire time. In fact, there's been testimony that his knee actually was on George Floyd's back, and that in many times his knee wasn't on him at all, that his foot was on the ground, and that he was leaning back. And you cannot see whether or not there was contact between his knee and George Floyd's back. There has been no testimony that his drug use, that his bad heart, that his health condition was absolutely not the cause of what happened at this trial. So when we come back from the break, we do have a couple of videos of the closing arguments. But again, I think that Eric Nelson, the defense attorney, who was his own army of lawyers, he was just one, did a great job against 4 or 5 lawyers from the defense who all had unlimited resources for this case, as the prosecution almost always does. They brought in experts from all over the country. If your case is strong, why do you need 12 experts? Well, maybe it wasn't as strong, but I do think he'll be convicted, and I'll tell you why. And we'll show you more after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
Hi, Hunter Ellis here for Night Hero Binoculars by Atomic Beam. These binoculars let you see anything, even in pitch black darkness. Gotcha.
The secrets are powerful wide-angle atomic beam laser that reveals objects up to 150 yards away, hidden by darkness.
During the day, Night Hero gives you 10 times magnification. And when the sun goes down, press the Night Bright button to see clearly in the dark.
Light up garbage-eating critters or spot thieves before they even get close.
Call or click now and get Night Hero binoculars for just $39.99. Order right now and you can double it. Plus, get our best-selling atomic beam flashlight, just pay a separate fee. We'll even ship them to you free. This TV special offer is not available on Amazon. You can get it all, but you have to order now.
Call 1-800-619-1091. That's 1-800-619-1091. Or visit bynighthero.com. That's bynighthero.com. Order now.
Today's households have more digital devices than ever before. More links to family, business, education, and entertainment. Beck Communications spent over 10 years building North Dakota's fastest fiber optic internet service. Beck Lightband Internet, outpacing speeds in large cities nationwide. Lightband Internet handles all your digital needs without throttling your connection to the world. Beck Communications, valuable digital connections in rural North Dakota.
Hi, it's me, Anthony Sullivan. And yes, you've actually caught me at home relaxing because life's been pretty worry-free since I got coverage with American Residential Warranty.
You won't believe what ARW covers. Heating and air conditioning, washers and dryers, kitchen appliances, plumbing, water heaters, electrical systems, flat screens and laptops, even pools and spas, and so much more. Call American Residential Warranty. They'll get you covered.
1-800-219-1467.
Attention! Have you or a loved one suffered from maculopathy, a serious retinal injury, after taking the prescription drug Almiron for interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome? In 2018, a researcher at the Emory School of Medicine linked Almiron, a prescription drug that treats interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome, to maculopathy, which is sight-threatening and can cause an abrupt change of vision. Call Almiron Justice for a free legal consultation.
Please call 800-395-5680.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms.
This drug remains approved by the FDA.
If you or a loved one regularly took Zantac and were later diagnosed with cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Potential cancers include bladder cancer, colon cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting with your doctor. Discontinuing a prescribed medication without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death.
Call 1-800-230-9210.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. We're talking about the George Floyd, Derek Chauvin trial. Yes, it's not the George Floyd trial, but really, he should be on trial because, as we all know, he was a drug user. He was a career serial criminal. He was a guy who had 5 children out of wedlock with 5 different women, was not involved in any of his children's lives, was not involved in his grandchildren's lives, left them all to go hang out in Minneapolis, Stan. So Derek Chauvin is accused of killing him, and we know from the medical examiner's initial report that it was drugs and his poor health. Now, I want you to take a look at some of the closing arguments. First, take a look at what the prosecutor had to say. Here's a snippet.
You have that power, and only you have the power to convict the defendant of these crimes, and in so doing, declare that this use of force was unreasonable. It was excessive. It was grossly disproportionate. It is not an excuse for the shocking abuse that you saw with your own eyes, and you can believe your own eyes. This case is exactly what you thought when you saw it first, when you saw that video. It is exactly that. You can believe your eyes. It's exactly what you believed. It's exactly what you saw with your eyes. It's exactly what you knew. It's what you felt in your gut. It's what you now know in your heart. This wasn't policing. This was murder. The defendant is guilty of all 3 counts. All of them. And there's no excuse. Thank you.
All right, so let's take a look at some comments from Eric Nelson, the defense attorney, in his closing arguments.
Many of the officers talked about how it is not uncommon for suspects to feign or pretend to have a medical emergency to avoid being arrested. Unfortunately, that is the reality. Nobody likes to get arrested, and reasonable police officers know that. How many times does someone, oh, my heart hurts, or I'm having a medical emergency, insert whatever emergency, right? Simply because they don't want to go to jail. A reasonable police officer will take his training into experience. And you heard Lieutenant Mercel specifically say that when someone says that they can't breathe, but they are talking, if they're talking, it means they're breathing, right? If they're talking, it means they're breathing. And again,
just a snippet, but I really think that Eric Nelson did a great job. He talked for a very long time. I've heard some of the experts say, oh, he went on for too long, he lost the jury. No. There was a lot of evidence in this case, and 2 weeks of it was from the prosecution. Only 2 days of it was from the defense. And he had to go over all of those things and address them and give what Derek Chauvin's reasoning was for why he did what he did. And that is what he had to do. So he had to go on for a long time to cover all of the 2 weeks that was presented on behalf of the defense, that Derek Chauvin did everything wrong, that George Floyd's a great guy, he's got family. Everybody has family. So what? Does that make you a good person? Hitler had family. Who cares? That is irrelevant. It's like when somebody says, oh, she was somebody's daughter. Well, you know what? Madonna's somebody's daughter. She's a sleazebag. You know, a lot of people are somebody's daughter. Serial killers who are women, there are a few of those, are somebody's daughter. Ava Braun was somebody's daughter. So when people raise these issues like they did for Derek Chauvin, it needs to be responded to. And he hammered home, again, that what a reasonable police officer would do in the situation. Also, the size of the men, the police officers. Derek Chauvin was the largest of them. And he weighed something like 140 pounds, and he's 5'8" or 5'9". George Floyd was 6'4" and weighed 230 or more. And he was hopped up on drugs. So they made light of that, the prosecution, because Eric Nelson said, you know, when somebody's on drugs, they have this kind of superhuman strength. But we all know that that's true. Look at what happened with Rodney King. They tried to tase him. It did not work. I'm not comparing this case to that. They're two different things. But it did not work because he was hopped up on drugs. And that has to be taken into account by jurors in this case. There is superhuman strength when somebody is high on uppers, which he was. He was on fentanyl and meth and difentanyl and pot and other stuff. So, yes, I know pot is not an upper, but everything else he was on is an upper. And he even couldn't sit down in the car. He was saying, I can't breathe when he was in the car, when he was standing up outside the cop car. So those are the snippets of the comments. Now, I want you to take a look at the comments of somebody that responded. Congresswoman Maxine Waters, who is from California, she came to Minneapolis, Stan, to protest. Take a look.
Reform. And so, yes, I would like to see the bill in Congress pass on police reform, but I know that the right wing, the racists, are opposed to it, and I don't know what's going to happen to it, but I know this: we've got to stay in the street, and we've got to demand justice.
As a black man, despite all of the efforts, I feel like nothing changes, and George Floyd is waking so many people up, yet nothing has happened. Despite the rhetoric, like what needs to happen that's different this year than all the years before?
We're looking for a guilty verdict. We're looking for a guilty verdict, and we're looking to see if all of the talk that took place and has been taking place after they saw what happened to George Floyd, if nothing does not happen, then we know that we've got to not only stay in the street, but we've got to fight for justice. But I am very hopeful, and I hope that we're going to get a verdict that will say guilty, guilty, guilty. And if we don't, we cannot go away.
And not just manslaughter, right? I mean...
Oh, no, not manslaughter. No. This is guilty for murder. I don't know whether it's in the first degree, but as far as I'm concerned, it's first degree murder.
Congresswoman, what happens if we do not get what you just told? What should the people do? What should protesters on the street do?
I didn't hear you.
What happens?
What should protesters do?
Well, we got to stay on the street, and we've got to get more active. We've got to get more confrontational. We've got to make sure that they know that we mean business.
What do you think about this curfew tonight?
All right, so that's James Brown lookalike Maxine Waters. I think we've got a side-by-side there. Yeah, look at that. Yep, same wig. All right, so Maxine Waters, he's smarter, though. And he never called for violence in the streets. So you heard her. She said, stay in the streets. We have to get more confrontational so they know we mean business if we don't get the verdict that we want. She committed several crimes out there. First of all, her district is thousands of miles away in California. What is she doing there? Secondly, it's now been revealed that she sought police protection for her trip to Minneapolis, Stan. So she's a hypocrite. She keeps calling for defunding the police, but she just means for you and for me and for people who are not making $180,000 a year in Congress and becoming multimillionaires, as she did with her fancy house, which I think is in or near Beverly Hills. So she committed several crimes. She was violating curfew. That's number one. Number two, she was inciting violence, which, as Joe Biden said, no amendment is absolute. She's not allowed to incite violence. You can have free speech, but you can't call fire in a crowded theater, which is what she was doing. And also, she was engaging in jury tampering because she let the jurors know that if you don't find him guilty of murder, not even manslaughter, but murder, then we are going to step up the violence in the streets and we're going to be much more confrontational so they know we mean business. And we all know what that means. Now, the judge had something to say about this, and we have some other comments from Maxine Waters to show what a fraud she is. We will show you that and more after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
Introducing the Cool Turtle, the ultra-comfortable mask enhancer that creates a protective, cool, and breathable space between your mask and your face. Simply slide under any mask or gaiter and immediately feel the refreshing pocket of air surrounding your face. Cool Turtle's ergonomically designed, soft, comfortable shell immediately reduces mask friction, allowing you to breathe and talk in a comfortable environment.
I can actually breathe. With the Cool Turtle, no more sweating.
It's like I don't even have a mask on.
Call now and get not one, not two, but 3 Cool Turtles for just $10. Order now and we'll send you 2 more Cool Turtles free. No fees, absolutely free. Plus, you can get a 10-pack of 4-ply face masks. Just pay a separate fee. This offer is not available on Amazon. Get the real Cool Turtle now.
Call 1-800-270-1219. That's 1-800-270-1219. Or visit getcoolturtle.com. Order now.
Hey everybody, I'm Doug Billings, your host of The Right Side with Doug Billings on Beck News. We bring you high-profile guests, ladies and gentlemen, exclusive guests. Now, you're not going to see these guests in most of the mainstream media outlets. Another thing that I do here is give guests a platform to speak freely. You're not going to see me censor anybody. Please join us, won't you? Weeknights right here on Beck TV and online at beck.news. Cheers.
Indoor football is back in Bismarck. Bucks football season is right around the corner. Grab a friend or family member for a night of action-packed, hard-hitting entertainment. The Bucks open at the Bismarck Event Center May 8th as they take on the Massachusetts Pirates. Catch the sweetest seats in the house right on the sidelines with VIP service at a Bucks turf table. Available now for single game purchases. Secure your tickets today by calling 701-595-0771. Bucks football, half the field and double the fun.
Who do you trust with your digital life? Not all cloud backup providers keep your data truly private. Beck Cloud Backup uses advanced multi-layer encryption to keep your family photos, videos, and sensitive business documents secure and only for your eyes. Your Beck Lightband Internet service already includes 50 gigs of free storage to keep your digital life safe and secure. Call us at 701-475-2361 to start using your Beck Cloud Backup today.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream sheets. When you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. So we are talking about the Derek Chauvin trial, which had its closing arguments today, and some of the surrounding events. So we just showed you the very insightful, disgusting, despicable, frankly, comments from Maxine Waters trying to extort and blackmail the jury. And the judge in the trial had something to say about that. This judge, who even he's been unfair the whole time, Judge Peter Cahill, even he had something to say. And he said, and what happened was, Eric Nelson, Derek Chauvin's attorney, brought a motion to declare a mistrial because of her comments. And this is part of why I think Derek Chauvin will not be acquitted in this trial. Maybe there'll be a mistrial because there will be one juror that will hold out, but I doubt it. Because as we showed you the other day, we showed you the home of Officer Kim Potter and what has had to have happened around her house, what has had to happen around her house in order for it not to be destroyed. There are barriers, cement barriers surrounding it. There's a chain link fence installed around it. There are 5 police officers at all times guarding it. The average juror knows they are never going to get this kind of treatment. Their name's going to leak. They don't want to fallen victim to this. They don't want to fall victim to this. And they see what Maxine Waters is saying, and they know that she's serious. And they see all these people rioting around her, following her lead. And remember, this is a member of Congress from California who has traveled to Minneapolis, Stan, to sow the seeds of violence and unrest and rioting in this country. She should be expelled from Congress just for that. And we'll get to that in a minute. But I want to read you some comments from Judge Cahill. So he said in response to Eric Nelson's motion that I'll give you that Congresswoman Waters may have given you something on appeal that may result in this whole trial being overturned. Cahill said, denying the motion, although he acknowledged Nelson's concerns were legitimate. This goes back to what I've been saying from the beginning, the judge said. I wish elected officials would stop talking about this case, particularly in a manner that is disrespectful to the rule of law and the judicial branch in our function. Their failure to do so is abhorrent, but I don't think it has presented us with additional information that would prejudice the jury. Really? Of course it has. That and the judge allowing these jurors to be surrounded by protesters for blocks while this trial is going on, that completely prejudices the trial. There is no way Derek Chauvin's going to get a fair trial. These jurors see this. They see that these people are going to tear down America, and particularly Minneapolis, Stan, if they don't get what they want. And Maxine Waters just confirmed what we already know about that. So before we show you the reaction of a particular congresswoman to this whole thing, I want you to take a look at what she had to say Maxine Waters about Donald Trump. Take a look.
Well, I don't know what goes on in that caucus, but you know, you played the voice of the past president of the United States, Donald Trump. And it's okay because people need to be reminded how disrespectful he was, how dishonorable he was. And we're still wondering, and many are still wondering across the world, how did he become president of the United States with that kind of attitude, with that kind of voice, or with that kind.
How did she get to become a member of Congress with that kind of attitude, with that kind of conduct? She's referring to Donald Trump as dishonorable. Please. Pot kettle black waters. So, some members of Congress are looking at this, and unfortunately, the Kevin McCarthy, the Republican leader in the House, he is spineless and gutless, and he only says, I will do something if Nancy Pelosi doesn't. Nancy Pelosi's not going to do a thing. She never has. She never will. These are her people. She knows if she does anything against them, she is not long for this political world. She's not going to do anything. She is gutless and spineless as well. So he says he's going to do something. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and we have talked about her on this show, she is the QAnon nut job. She said that that a particular Jewish family controls space lasers that start forest fires in California. Maybe we should ask Maxine Waters about that since she comes from California. And she's a nut, but I have to tell you, she's looking a lot better. If I had to choose, I don't like either of these people, than Maxine Waters. And she has introduced a resolution, which, again, will go nowhere, to expel Maxine Waters. Maxine Waters should be expelled. You have a sitting member of this government calling for not just insurrection, but to basically destabilize this country. This is what Palestinian terrorist members of the Israeli Knesset do. They call on Hamas to attack Israel. This is what she's doing. She is the Hamasnik of the United States Congress. This is absolutely disgusting. So that's Marjorie Taylor Greene versus Maxine Waters. You know what? If I had to side with one of them, I guess I would side with Marjorie Taylor Greene, because at least the ignorant things she says have nothing to do with calling for the destruction and burning down of this country, which Maxine Waters wants. She wants to be the celebrity. She wants all the attention, and she's doing it by calling for this country to be basically ripped asunder. She should be expelled immediately. And there was a day and time, not that long ago, where somebody, a member of Congress of either party who did this, would have to resign. But that day has come and gone. It is no longer with us. All right, when we come back, I want to show you what has happened to one of the witnesses, the defense witnesses in the Derek Chauvin trial. And this is something, the jurors have found out about this. This is why I don't think he will get the verdict he deserves. That and more after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. My Giza sheets also include full 21-inch wide pillowcases that will fit over any pillow and deep pocket sheets that will fit over any mattress. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Giza Dream Sheets are available in a variety of colors. Use your promo code, and for a limited time, when you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms.
This drug remains approved by the FDA.
If you or a loved one regularly took Zantac and were later diagnosed with cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Potential cancers include bladder cancer, colon cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting with your doctor. Discontinuing a prescribed medication without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death.
Call 1-800-230-9210.
Seniors, are you aware that you could pay less for your car insurance?
Seniors can save money on their car insurance.
You might save a little, you might save a lot.
Maybe hundreds of dollars a year.
You might save 5% a year, maybe 10%, 15%, or even more.
That's a lot of money. So call right now and find out just how much money you might be able to save.
1-800-699-0761. 1-800-699-0761.
Hi, it's me, Anthony Sullivan. And yes, you've actually caught me at home relaxing because life's been pretty worry-free since I got coverage with American Residential Warranty.
You won't believe what ARW covers. Heating and air conditioning, washers and dryers, kitchen appliances, plumbing, water heaters, electrical systems, flat screens and laptops, even pools and spas, and so much more. Call American Residential Warranty. They'll get you covered.
1-800-219-1467.
He once won a spelling bee in an ancient language that he did not speak. He is the only man to ever earn extra credit on an IQ exam. His academic degrees are considered legitimate spending currency in 22 nations, 2 principalities, and at Chick-fil-A restaurants in the United States and Western Canada.
I do not always engage with education programming, but when I do, it is the Dr. Duke Show.
Stay educated with the Dr. Duke Show, weekdays at 4 p.m. on Beck News.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. So, before the break, I told you I don't think that Derek Chauvin will get the verdict that he deserves, which is an acquittal. And the reason that I feel that way is, again, these jurors see these protests. They see Maxine Waters. They're not protests. They are riots. They see the looting, the burning, the destruction of America that has taken place over nearly a year now. And they see that nobody's doing anything to stop it. Nothing is happening. In many cases, they're arresting innocent people who are the victims of these rioters. We'll show you some video with that. And they're seeing other things. You can bet news is leaking out to them. Jurors who are ordered to self-sequester and not pay attention to media, they pay attention. They're not sequestered. They are at home, they're watching TV, they're talking with family members. If they're not watching TV news, their family members are telling them about what's going on. And I want to show you what happened to Barry Broad. Barry Broad is a defense witness. He was one of the police officers who testified for Derek Chauvin that what he did was acceptable given the situation. Barry Broad was a Santa Rosa, California police officer. Now, he's no longer a police officer. He's retired, and he no longer lives in Santa Rosa, California. But some left-wing thugs went to the house he used to live at thinking he still lived there. And look what they did. Take a look. So they smeared and splattered blood all over the door area. And what you don't see is, on the ground, is a severed pig's head, which they left there. And they also went to the middle of Santa Rosa, where there's a statue in the middle of town square or whatever it is, the main street. And they smeared the statue with blood and with epithets against police. And they had plastic pigs that said oink, oink on it. This is what they do to witnesses in a trial who testify in a way they don't want. This is the mob justice of Black Lives Matter and Antifa and the American left and Maxine Waters. This is them. And you don't hear Nancy Pelosi saying we can't have this, we need to have peace in America, we need to have trials be able to go on in peace so that we have real justice. You don't hear her saying that. So a juror finds out that this witness had this happen at his house. And he's a former police officer. They're not afraid of police officers. You're a juror. You know your name is going to leak, and you don't live in California thousands of miles away where they still try to get to him. You live in Minneapolis, Stan, or the suburbs. You're going to stick your neck out and hold out? No, you're not going to do that. You don't want this to happen to you and your family and to lose everything, which is what will happen to any juror that does that. And they know that. They absolutely know that, which is why this judge has handled this case wrong at every step of the way, and it's completely unfair, and it is appealable error, and it is prejudicial, as he even himself admitted. So let's hope that if the decision is wrong, which I think it will be, that, and by the way, there will still be riots, even if Derek Chauvin is convicted. You heard Maxine Waters. She doesn't, second degree or manslaughter is not good enough for her. She wants him guilty of murder. And even if he is found guilty of that, you can bet there will still be riots. It will never be enough. These people who are race pimps and race rioters and social justice warriors, the woke, it's never enough because they'd be out of business. They don't want to be out of business. They want us to be out of business and out of existence. That's what they want. So there's that. Now, I want you to take a look at this video. This is a man who is in the Brooklyn Center, Minneapolis Stan area, and he was trying to get home, but he's being blocked by Black Lives Matter protesters. So what happens to him? He gets arrested, not them. Take a look. That's disgusting. You know, instead of doing the right thing, I used to be such a supporter of police, and I still am, but they're doing the wimpy thing, not the right thing. They are not arresting these people who are blocking streets, blocking people from getting home. What would happen if there's an ambulance? If somebody has to get to the hospital, what will happen? These people are blocking the street. The police aren't doing anything. They're arresting this guy. If I were that guy, I would drive on people's lawns. I would not care. I would do what I have to do to get home, and I would not let these people stop me. These people are breaking the law, not this guy. And these police reward them and arrest him and put him in cuffs. Are you serious? Yes, as serious as a heart attack. This is America now. So if you are not armed, go out and get a gun. I know most people in North Dakota are armed, but I'm just telling you, get another one because this is only going to get worse. Joe Biden is doing nothing to stop this. Kamala Harris still has a tweet on her Twitter account asking people to give money to bond out these thugs. No, 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 no. This is not how America should be. And unfortunately, I don't think we're ever going to go back. It's only going to get worse until and unless we have somebody like a President DeSantis in there. I don't know if they can happen anymore. You got Biden packing the court. You have them controlling the House and the Senate. And the White House. It's just getting worse and worse. And you've got all these crazy people teaching your children, not just in colleges and universities, but in high schools and middle schools. Yes, that is what's going on. All right, so there's that. Now, Patrice Kahn Colors, we told you about her. She is the co-founder of Black Lives Matter, and she's an avowed Marxist. She's a faux Marxist. She has 4 expensive homes. She's looking at a 5th one in the Bahamas. And she was, and as I told you, Facebook is blocking the posting of this article from the New York Post about her 4 homes because it's not nice. It's not nice to expose leftist hypocrites. It's not nice to expose people who make money off the backs of other people in social justice work, social justice warrior work, and wokeness. So she was confronted by, not really confronted, but she was kindly asked by a fellow black woke journalist. She's not a journalist, but a fellow black woke person who's calls himself a journalist, and check out what she had to say.
Also a critique, though, from the left that would say, if you are a trained Marxist, if we're talking about a certain kind of radical politic, that extravagant homes of any sort or multiple properties of any sort is itself contradictory to the ideology that you hold. And so it's not about having money per se, but that it's about, or about property per se, but it's about there being a potential contradiction between your expressed politics and your lived practice.
Sure, and I think that is a critique that is wanting, and I say that because the way that I live my life is in direct support to Black people, including my Black family members, first and foremost. And for so many Black folks who are able to invest in themselves and their community, they choose to invest in their family, and that's what I've chosen to do. I have a child, I have a brother that has severe mental illness that I take care of. I support my mother, and I support many other family members of mine. And so I see my money as not my own. I see it as my family's money as well.
No problem that I'm a faux Marxist, that I am making millions off the backs of other people, and that I've bought these 4 luxury homes looking for a 5th one. There's nothing contradictory about that because, you know, I got mine and I'm helping Black people because the Black people are my relatives. So I'm helping them, and I'm helping my lesbian wife who's also Black. So, you know, no problem. I'm not a hypocrite at all. And the people who point out I'm a hypocrite, well, they're just wanting in their criticism. Please. Are you serious? She is a fraud. By the way, Marxism, we know that they always would say each according to his needs, each according to his means. So she has a lot of means now, and apparently she thinks her needs are better than everyone else. You know, like the Communist Party members who say, yeah, let them stand in bread lines, let them eat cake, while I have millions and laugh at them all the way to the bank. Ha 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 ha. That's what's going on here. Now, when we come back, we'll tell you who the Black Lives Matter donors are who are funding all this violence and her hypocrisy. And I have something to say about Adam Toledo, the latest cause celeb of the woke crowd. That and more after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
Do you worry about going to the dentist? After all, a visit to the dentist can easily cost $2,000 or more. Well, relax. The Carefree Dental Card is now available in your area. Call now and we'll send your actual card at no cost today. With the Carefree Dental Card, you go to the dentist whenever you need and you instantly pay a lot less. Activate your card and you can start using it immediately. From exams and cleanings to more expensive procedures like crowns, dentures, even braces, they're all included with the Carefree Dental Card. Say you go to the dentist today without any card and your bill is, well, ouch. Wait a minute, let's try that again. You go to the dentist today and show your Carefree Dental Card, you save $525. The Carefree Dental Card is just $15.95 a month, so call now and make going to the dentist carefree.
Call 1-800-416-5739 to receive your Carefree Dental Card information kit. 1-800-416-5739. Call now.
At Beck Communications, we've been planning for your future. Over the past decade, we've placed nearly 200,000 miles of dedicated fiber optics in the ground. Enough fiber optic strands to circle the world 8 times. Taking no shortcuts, we connected every home and business in our service area with dedicated fiber optics. It's your personal, unrestricted, unthrottled connection to the world. Best of all, this dedicated fiber means you do not share your connection. We call this intimate dedicated connection Beck Fiber.
I can't say enough good things about these nano hearing aids.
Real people talking about nano hearing aids.
The hearing quality is great.
Until now, hearing aids used to be too expensive for the average person. Until nano. Call now and you'll get your nano hearing aids for only $297. You'll save $100. When you buy one hearing aid, Nano will give you a second hearing aid free. Call right now.
1-800-213-3815.
Who do you trust with your digital life? Not all cloud backup providers keep your data truly private. Beck Cloud Backup uses advanced multi-layer encryption to keep your family photos, videos, and sensitive business documents secure and only for your eyes. Your Beck Lightband Internet service already includes 50 gigs of free storage to keep your digital life safe and secure. Call us at 701-475-2361 to start using your Beck Cloud Backup today.
Attention! Have you or a loved one suffered from maculopathy, a serious retinal injury, after taking the prescription drug Almiron for interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome? In 2018, a researcher at the Emory School of Medicine linked Almiron, a prescription drug that treats interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome, to maculopathy, which is sight-threatening and can cause an abrupt change of vision. Call Almiron Justice for a free legal consultation.
Please call 800-395-5680.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. So you want to know who is funding this violence, who is giving their imprimatur, their seal of approval, like the Good Housekeeping seal of approval to Black Lives Matter. Take a look, because we've got a graphic of the companies that support it. Look at this. Amazon's at the top, 10 million. Anastasia Beauty, 1 million. Look at, there's Gap brands, Coca-Cola. Yeah, Coca-Cola that doesn't want ID laws for voting in Georgia, but wants to foment violence all across America. Etsy, Facebook, 10 million. Google, 12 million. Nike, 40 million. Just do it. Just be violent. Walmart, 100 million. Warby Parker. Like I said before on the show, and there's a lot of these. We'll just leave it up for a few more seconds so you can kind of go through. But like I've said before, Wendy's, 500,000. The problem is it used to be companies, Oreo, would stay out of politics because it was bad for business. But all these companies now are political. They've done a calculation, and their calculation is that you and I don't matter. They're focused on the woke younger generations, and they know it's more profitable for them because, listen, they're not woke. This is virtue signaling. This is corporate marketing. And if they thought that this would ruin their bottom line, they wouldn't do it. But they've done calculations, they've done research, and they find that this is good for their bottom line. It's not going to hurt them. They don't need us. They need the woke crowd. So think about that. I know it's hard to not use any of those companies, especially since they're so ubiquitous. But just think about it. Next time you've got a choice. Coke is bad for you. Don't drink that. Don't support this company. If you've got a choice, skip it. Drink some water. Drink some tea that you made with an old-fashioned tea bag that you heated up. Skip these companies that are funding this to the best of your abilities. None of us can boycott all these companies, or we wouldn't be able to live life. It's too inconvenient. But it's not too inconvenient to skip things like drinking a Coke. You can sacrifice. It's not really a sacrifice. So there's that. So now Adam Toledo, who is a Mexican 13-year-old, he is the latest cause celeb that police deliberately killed him, we're told. Now this is a 13-year-old kid who was out in Chicago at 2 in the morning. What is a 13-year-old doing out at 2 in the morning with a gun? Why is a 13-year-old carrying a gun in Chicago at 2 in the morning? No answers. Crickets chirping. You know what? I believe the police on this one. They've shown a picture of him with a gun. And I know we're all seeing footage and pictures from later on where he didn't have a gun. He probably dropped it somewhere. The police might not know that. Maybe he had it hidden somewhere. They don't know, and they have to protect themselves. This kid shouldn't have been out. If his parents cared about him, guess what? He wouldn't be out at 2 a.m. and he wouldn't have a gun. Why aren't they supervising him? Why weren't they watching him? It's not the police's fault. It's his fault and his parents' fault. Sorry, that's just the way it is. All right? So there's that. Now, I want you to take a look at these figures. The other day we showed you police shootings in the year 2020. And we showed you how whites were more likely to be shot by the police, whether they were armed or unarmed. Now, here are the figures so far for 2021. So, police so far have shot 52 total black people. That's statistically insignificant when you consider that there are tens of millions of blacks in America. Unarmed, 3. That's even more statistically insignificant. White people, 109. So more than double the amount have been killed by police or fatally shot. That's killing. And out of those, 5. Again, statistically insignificant. 5 were unarmed. These are very small numbers. This is not overwhelming. This does not show systemic racism. That is a lie. It is a fallacy. It is a fraud being put forth on America, and it isn't true. Next time you hear one of these woke young kids or young adults that have graduated from college and been brainwashed and don't know anything about anything, and they say there's systemic racism, ask them if they can show you some figures and statistics to show that there is. They cannot, because there are no figures that show there are. I don't care how you massage them. It's just not true. And those are the raw figures. It's not systemic racism, or whites wouldn't be double the number of killings. They just would not. So there's that. Now, we had some video, but I think it's probably we don't have enough time to show it, but I will show you something else. These kids tried to rob a man. Take a look. That's why everyone in America should be armed and dangerous to those who come to rob us, to vandalize us, to commit crimes against us. Remember, things are not always as they seem. See you tomorrow.